The room was silent, uncomfortably silent. The boardroom lights hummed softly as executives from 3 countries waited for the meeting to start. At the center sat Viktor Mikhailov, a powerful Russian CEO known for his strict standards and even stricter temper. He was in India for a massive partnership deal, but the interpreter who was supposed to translate Russian to English didn't show up. He kept checking his watch, tapping the table, breathing heavily. His team whispered among themselves. The Indian partners exchanged confused glances. Millions of dollars were on the line, and without a translator, the entire negotiation would collapse. Viktor finally snapped. He stood up, slammed his hand on the polished table, and shouted something in Russian, fast, sharp, and clearly angry. No one understood a word. Everyone froze. The tension in the room grew like a storm cloud. The Indian CEO leaned to his assistant and whispered, "Do we cancel? Do we reschedule?" But Viktor's expression said clearly that he wasn't rescheduling anything. He wanted results now. And that's when something unexpected happened. A soft voice broke the silence. It came from the corner of the room. A woman in a cleaning uniform, holding a mop, slowly raised her hand. "Sir, I can translate," she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Some frowned. Some looked surprised. Viktor blinked, confused. The room wasn't sure if she was joking or serious. She wasn't part of the meeting. She wasn't dressed for business. She wasn't on the official staff list. She was simply the cleaner assigned to tidy the office. Her name was Rosa, a Filipino working in India, sending money back home to support her family. She had been cleaning this office for months. Nobody paid attention to her. Nobody knew her story. But what they didn't know was that Rosa had lived in Russia for 7 years. She worked there before moving to India and learned Russian fluently. She repeated herself, this time louder, "Sir, I can translate." Viktor stared at her, unsure if he should trust her. But he had no other option. He slowly nodded. The room shifted. Chairs adjusted. People leaned forward. Their eyes were now on Rosa. She walked up slowly, placed the mop aside, took a seat next to the Russian CEO, and took a deep breath. Viktor began speaking, cautiously at first. Rosa translated every word into perfect English. No hesitation, no mistakes. Full confidence. Her voice was clear and calm. People in the room exchanged stunned glances. For the first time since the meeting started, the tension melted. The Indian CEO sat upright, eyes wide. He whispered to his assistant, "She's incredible." The assistant nodded, equally shocked. Viktor's eyebrows lifted in surprise. He leaned forward, testing her with more complicated sentences, industry jargon, legal terms, technical vocabulary. And Rosa translated it effortlessly. Every sentence flowed naturally, as if she had been preparing for this moment her entire life. Slowly, the meeting transformed. The panic disappeared. The confusion disappeared. The fear disappeared. Rosa became the center of the room. She wasn't just translating words. She was translating emotion. She knew when to soften Viktor's tone, when to emphasize urgency, when to adjust phrasing so everyone understood. She had a skill that no one else in that room possessed, cultural sensitivity. At one point, Viktor asked the Indian team a question in Russian. Rosa translated it. They answered. She translated back to Russian. Viktor's face softened, not with anger, but with respect. For the first time, he smiled. As the hours passed, the negotiations became smoother. Both sides started understanding each other's goals. Barriers fell. Trust grew. Rosa guided them through misunderstandings and potential conflicts with grace. At one moment, lunch arrived. The executives began eating, but Rosa stayed quietly to the side. Viktor noticed. He gestured for her to join them. She politely declined, but he insisted. The room watched as the powerful CEO invited the cleaner to the same table as global executives. She joined reluctantly, still humble, still quiet. As they ate, someone finally asked, Where did you learn Russian? Rosa smiled softly. I worked in Moscow for many years. I cleaned offices there too. People didn't talk to me much, but I listened, I learned, I practiced. Victor put down his fork. You speak better Russian than some of my staff, he said with a laugh. The room erupted in light laughter. Even Rosa smiled shyly. After lunch, they returned to the negotiation table. With Rosa translating, the two companies reached an agreement, one that had stalled for months. The deal was finalized. Contracts were drafted, hands were shaken, millions of dollars secured, thanks to the person nobody expected. When the meeting ended, the Indian CEO approached her. Rosa, you saved this deal. How can we thank you? She shook her head. I'm just doing my job, sir. Victor stood up and walked toward her. Everyone went quiet again. He extended his hand and said in Russian, Thank you, Rosa. Without you, this entire trip would have been a disaster. She translated his words for the others, but he gently stopped her. No, he said, smiling. These words are only for you. He reached into his briefcase, pulled out a crisp envelope, and handed it to her. She opened it slowly. Inside was an official letter offering her a permanent job as a multilingual liaison for his corporation, at a salary more than 10 times what she was currently earning. Her hands trembled. Tears filled her eyes. But, sir, I am only a cleaner, she whispered. Victor shook his head. No, you are not only anything. You showed us that talent can come from anywhere. And today, you saved us. Everyone in the room applauded. Some stood. Some even had tears in their eyes. It was a moment that none of them would ever forget. The next day, Rosa started her new job. She walked into the office, not with a mop, but with a badge, a laptop bag, and a new sense of confidence. People who once ignored her now greeted her respectfully. She had earned her place, and everyone knew it. Her story spread across the company like wildfire. Employees shared it. Managers told it in meetings. It inspired people to look beyond positions, uniforms, and assumptions. Because Rosa's story wasn't just about translating languages, it was about translating humanity. It was about proving that value doesn't come from titles. It comes from knowledge. It comes from humility. It comes from courage. And on that day, in that boardroom, a Filipino cleaner showed the world that sometimes the hero of the story is the one no one ever sees coming.